everybody! Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Alice and I enjoy doing reviews. I like to review all sorts of different things from food to coffee, movies, magazines, advertisements, and what I'm going to be reviewing today, which is a book review. And I'm going to be reviewing Triangle by Danielle Steel. She's a #1 bestseller, and apparently she has a ton of different books. It says here on the back of her book, 1 billion copies of her novels sold, which is pretty impressive. I don't know if it's as many as the Bible, but I mean, you know, that's a lot of books sold. I don't know if, you know, we can exactly believe her book. I don't have any actual statistics on her book sales, but she does have quite a few books written. So if you look in the front of the book here, you can see these are all of her books. So, you know, it doesn't surprise me that she has quite a few copies sold, maybe if it's not quite 1 billion. And, you know, to have that many books sold, you have to be a pretty popular author, and I actually can see why. Her book, Triangle, is an intriguing mix of romance and horror. Kind of a journey of self-discovery while you're being stalked and harassed by a madman. Which actually brings me to my next point. I wanted to put out a little warning that there are a couple of sexual assault scenes in this book, and if that's not something that you are interested in reading, I would actually steer clear of this book because they get pretty intense at certain points. But it's interesting how quickly you sort of like forget about the horror and kind of get caught up in the romance and the characters and their stories, the mystery kind of surrounding them. I can see why she's a revered author. She paints a really vivid picture. Her books are easy to read. They're very accessible to the average reader. And, you know, they provide a really good, at least for me, distraction throughout the day. I really enjoy reading. I enjoy taking time to just kind of chill out and immerse myself in a story, and Danielle Steel really does paint a picture with her characters. The book was pretty fast-paced. It gets right into the main character and who she is, Amanda. And she is someone who is very strong-willed, a very, what you would call independent woman who owns her own art gallery and has suffered through several hardships in her family, and that have kind of created her and made her into the woman that she is today. She doesn't really have a desire at the beginning of the book to find romance or find a partner. To her, that's kind of secondary compared to, you know, what she has going on in her life. She is nearing 40. I think they say she's like 38, 39 in the book. It's one of those numbers there. And, you know, she's very happy with her life. She has a very full life, basically. One theme I noticed in this book, which I thought was a brilliant portrayal of it, kind of in every sense, was the theme of being chased. The love interest that sort of catches Amanda's attention, Olivier, he is someone who kind of chases after her. Maybe not at first, which, you know, kind of leads you to question whether or not she's even going to get with this guy. But after a while, he is chasing after her, and he is kind of pursuing her throughout the entire book, despite the fact that he is a married man. Interesting because his wife, Stephanie, is in no way chasing him or in any way trying to have any sort of relationship with him. She is just completely cut off from him and his life. And Amanda kind of in the book has to decide whether or not this is true, because Amanda has already suffered through this situation once. She was in love with a married man, and he promised he would leave his wife for her, but it never amounted to anything, and she was left very brokenhearted and sad because she didn't like being the mistress, and that's a point of contention in the book. Amanda has very strong morals, partly because of her backstory with her mother, but she is not someone who wishes to become the mistress to a married man. So this is the point in the story where that chasing energy kind of takes hold, as Olivier has to prove to her that he and his wife, you know, they're pretty much over. They're done. They had children, but their children are raised. They're out of the house, and there's nothing between them anymore. It's a dead relationship. And at the same time, he kind of has to come to terms with his own situation in not knowing whether or not his wife really does care about the marriage. Um, this is all told really brilliantly, in a very, like I said, in a very fast-paced kind of way throughout the book. It keeps you guessing, especially when a second love interest enters. Tom, I believe his name is Quinlan, who is an American lawyer coming to France, and I'm not sure if I mentioned this. Amanda is French. She lives in France. Her mother was apparently, I think, American, and took her briefly to live in America before she tragically died when Amanda was a teenager. So, bearing all that in mind, Amanda has sort of two sides to her, the French side and the American side. And I would be very curious to know if Danielle Steel actually is a French woman or if she's an American who travels to France. Maybe these are her observations of the French culture, because there are certain aspects of the book that, being an American, I really wouldn't know were true or not. In the book, it is sort of portrayed that French married men sometimes will go out and have mistresses, and wives are generally okay and understanding about that, so long as they follow certain rules put in place. I don't know how culturally relevant that is. I don't feel like that would fly with most people here in America, but then again, in 2025, I think relationships are, they're evolving, they're morphing. I honestly don't know if either culture would mind it as much or would mind it more. So, bearing all of that in mind, Amanda is just staunchly against it. She just does not want to be a mistress. So at that point in the book is where Oliver is chasing her. Now, Tom Quinlan, as I said, the American lawyer, he was her college boyfriend from like 20 years ago in New York City. She attended college in America and briefly dated this man who she proclaims at the beginning of the book had quite a jealous streak. But they ended on fairly good terms, and they both went their separate ways. He is now back in her life, and he just kind of can't get it through his head that she is not into him. He comes off creepy right away. It's kind of, I feel like, I'm not sure if Danielle Steel was attempting to make this more mysterious or not, but right away you get the sense that there is something off about Tom. He simply doesn't want to hear the word no. And we have that chasing energy again, but when, it comes from Tom, who's very quasi-aggressive and not really listening to her, always recanting the past and how they used to be a couple, it comes off a little bit creepy and scary. And I think that Danielle Steel does a brilliant job of showing the two energies there, kind of paradoxically showing those two energies, the chasing energy, and how, on the one hand, the one energy of being chased can be a really fun experience, and on the other hand, it can be terrifying. Because the character of Tom, he more or less goes off the deep end. A very interesting part of the book, and I was wondering if this was on purpose or not. At one point, and trigger warning if you don't want to hear any of the sexual assault scenes, I would just click off now. I wouldn't want anyone to be upset by what I had to say next, but at one point Tom does attempt to rape Amanda, and she gets away from him. She doesn't get raped, she gets away from him, but he actually leaves some bruises on her body. And what was so curious to me, and like I said, I don't know if this was on purpose or not, because I could see both sides of it. I could see it just kind of being like maybe an oversight that Danielle Steel didn't put together, didn't think the reader would put together, or maybe it was on purpose and showing that we really don't want to accuse people we know, people we've been with, people we may have loved at some time of, heinous acts. Because at a certain point, Amanda starts to get these really bizarre phone calls, which lead to break-ins into her apartment, her things stolen, particularly her underwear, and it escalates. And after the incident with Tom, she tells her male friend, her best male friend, what is going on. And she asks if it could be Tom, and he immediately kind of says, I don't think so. He's a creep, but he wouldn't do something like that. And I'm just sitting here thinking like, well, he almost raped you. I mean, I don't think I would put it past him to do something crazy like this. It's a very interesting portion of the book where I feel like she might have been making a point about how we just don't want to see the reality of a situation. It's too scary, it's too horrific to see someone in that light, because Tom does end up being a crazy psychopath who is breaking into her apartment and harassing her, and to the extreme. And while I won't reveal the end of the book and what happens, I will say that it leads to a very intense climax. I was really kind of stuck in that book for a while. It does keep you guessing. It kept me guessing for quite a while, because that sense of uncertainty that they had, I also had. And there's a few other areas of the book that really kind of, they make you question a lot of things about the different characters, because for a while I assumed that Olivier had something to do with it, but then that didn't make sense. Then it kind of spiraled into all these people that Amanda knew. But again, you should definitely read it and check it out. Definitely kind of see the ending and how it happens. It's a very unique book and a unique perspective on the idea of being chased as a woman. I think Danielle Steel has a lot of really interesting concepts and ideas like that, which probably makes her a very, accessible, interesting, engaging author. Basically, I will rate this book kind of in two different ways. Would I read this book again? Probably not. I say that, and this is where I kind of criticize the book a little bit. While very engaging and while very easy to read, the depth of the book only goes so far. I didn't feel there was like a ton of symbolism in this book. I didn't feel like the character depth was like completely drawn out and immersed. I studied English in college, and I studied like historical English and things like that, so I read a lot of the classics. And this book, while very interesting, while very distracting and good for, kind of a mystery read, I don't feel like is a book that I would personally enjoy again and again. It just didn't have that level of depth and engagement to it that I generally want to have in my literature that I choose to heap around, because I have a limited space, so I have to kind of be choosy with my books. Would I ever read anything by Danielle Steel again? Absolutely I would. In fact, I would like to actually get a few more of her books and read them as well, and then maybe pass them on to friends or family members that might want to read them. I just think that, yeah, it's a different writing style. It's very fun. It's very easygoing. And like I said, I feel like that is why she is so popular, is that the average reader who doesn't have degrees in English, maybe doesn't read at the highest level, can really enjoy this book and enjoy an engaging story, enjoy a mystery of sorts, and kind of get to know these characters both in their best sense and in their worst sense. So I don't know. I thought it was a fun book. I thought it was a fun read. I hope that it gets you interested in reading some of Danielle Steele's books, because I think that there's a reason why she has sold so many copies. Well, thank you so much for joining me here today. I was a little bit rambly there, but I have another review in the works right now, but I haven't quite gotten it finished yet, so hopefully I'll be getting that done soon. But anyway, I really hope you guys have had a fun November. I hope you're having a really great fall, and I will see you next time. Bye.